All right. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another Fireside chat, this time with Dylan Johns, who has a awesome booktube channel that I found not that long ago. He just surpassed 6,000 subs. He's been on booktube for like a year. I've gotten so much value from his channel and his content, so I wanted to bring him on and just chat. So maybe Dylan, just maybe introduce yourself and what you do over there on your channel and where people can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Theo. We found each other probably a few months ago now, and your
Yeah.
channel's become definitely one of my favorites, I would say, and that's not just flattery.
Oh, thanks,
Um,
man.
yeah. So
I
my
wonder
channel,
why, but anyway.
yeah, it's true. It's true. But yeah, about a year ago,
Yeah.
just been making book videos and
Awesome.
Kindle videos.
And what do you do mostly? You do a lot of fantasy. You do a lot of different things. So what can people find over there?
Well, that is a good question.
Yeah.
So
I
my
don't know how to
original
describe your channel because it's so good and the production quality is good and there's so many little hidden gems in there, but I don't like, how would you describe it?
That is the question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of to my own demise, I've probably been trying to do too much stuff, but lately it's been a lot of fantasy. I do some Kindle stuff every once in a while.
Yeah.
Good thriller, good
Your
horror.
channel blew up with some Kindle videos, I think, right? Is that when you first started seeing some traction? Because you did some really good Kindle videos. One video that I really liked by you was your Libby hacks.
Oh, okay.
As a Canadian, I was able to get some. You showed me how to get some library cards, some e-library cards to then
Right.
connect to Libby, and I'm able to get a lot more library books without waiting
Yeah.
weeks and weeks and months and stuff. So you have some awesome content. So I'm glad I found your channel.
Thank you.
What's
I
up, Dan?
appreciate that.
Yeah, cool. It's not a sprint, Sarah. We're just hanging out. Dylan also does reading sprints on his channel. Bring your own book, hang out, relax. He puts on some music sometimes, hangs out. It's a chill vibe. I like the vibe. And yeah, if you're looking for sprints and stuff, Dylan's a good place to go. What's up, man? How's it going? Hi, Tracy. Yeah, please do, Chris. He's a. I'm surprised you haven't stumbled across him actually, because yeah, he's a good channel. What's up, Dan? How's it going? A bunch of good channels on here in the chat already. But yeah, so 1 year on BookTube. I think we started, like you said, the same time.
Yeah.
You celebrated in April 1 year, right? As well this month.
Yeah. A couple
Yeah.
days ago, I think.
Congrats.
Well, thank you.
Really
Yeah, I think it was like the 19th was the
amazing.
official year. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, I mean, what's up, Cal? How's it going? And actually, Cal, for everyone who's watching and who tunes into these Friday, well, they used to be Friday, but now they're just regular chats, so I can chat more often with people when it works. But Cal is actually going to be on as my next guest probably in a couple of weeks from now, so come check
Nice.
that out. Yeah, so like, what prompted that? Like, obviously, I mean, were you part of the BookTube community for a while? You were a reader on that side of the camera, and then like all of a sudden you're like, I can probably talk about stuff. Like what happened? Because I think about when I started, I have no idea why I did that. Like I kind of do, and I've articulated it before, but really, like, I don't know what prompted me one day to actually upload. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
what happened? Why?
Yeah.
Why are
we're in
you
the
here?
same. Yeah. I wish I knew that.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same story. Like,
Okay.
I got into reading pretty much when everyone else in the world got into reading during the pandemic,
Yes.
and
Yes.
didn't really know what I liked. You know, I liked reading as a kid a lot, and thought, man, I got a lot of time on my hands. I
Yeah.
used to love it. I need to stop playing video games all day and do something like semi-responsible.
Yeah.
So I started reading, and
Yeah.
then not too long after that, I guess just because the internet knows everything about us, I just kept seeing all these like book videos on YouTube. I was
Right.
like, I never even heard of this. But
Yeah.
like
A
a week
whole
later,
new
I thought,
world.
yeah,
Crazy. Yeah.
and
Yeah. A
then
black hole, if you will.
yeah. I think one of the first channels I ever found was Jack Edwards, who's like, he and I share no reading interests at all, but like,
Yeah.
he's super popular for some reason. And
I've
no,
seen
no
his channel, but
disrespect.
he's a lot of lit fic, isn't he?
Yeah,
Mostly?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, artsy type books, and I was,
Right.
you know, but then the conceited part of me was like, I could talk about books on the internet. No one's gonna want to watch it, but I could do it, you know. And
So
here we are.
that's always the funny thing is there's two things. So the first thing is you decide to start a channel and you decide, okay, like I think I can, like for me, I started doing photography and stuff as a hobby. I have a nice camera for the purposes of going out with my buddies and doing some street photography and just kind of like playing around. and editing photos and kind of doing that. And I had another Instagram for that. And I was just really enjoying the kind of that creative process. I'm an analytical guy. I work in finance. My job is pretty square. And so for me, I was never really a creative individual. And so for me, this was kind of a way to explore that and get a little bit creative and work with some software that I otherwise wouldn't use. And so I kind of used this as an opportunity to learn how to edit. I was always interested in kind of making videos and stuff. Like I would make videos with friends. I would make some travel videos if we go on a trip. So I kind of wanted to get better with that. And I wanted to get better with my camera, like on the video side.
Okay.
So the first thing was like, hey, let's start this channel. Like I kind of want to play around with it, see if I can do it. I think I can like make this work. And then the second thing happens when you convince yourself that it's worth continuing. So the first thing is you wake up going like, I'm just going to make a video. Like, why not? And then you go, but are people going to watch it? And then people don't for a long time.
Right.
And then you just continue to do it. So what made you continue? Like, at what point did you go, okay, this is worth it? Or would you do this regardless? If you still had 50 subscribers, I mean, you've put in a lot of effort, a lot of work. This is a bit of a tricky question, but let's say you had 50 followers, loyal followers, which is awesome. But like, that's pretty much it. Would you continue to make the videos? Would you continue to have that passion? Like, did something click where you're like, yeah, this is awesome. I'm going to continue with this. Like, what happened?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think a lot of things are relative. So like in the beginning, the first video I posted got like 2 views, maybe. Right.
Yeah.
And I was
mine
like,
too, and both
away.
were me. So like whatever. Yeah.
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 And then the next one I posted got like 4, and I was like, this is crazy.
I'm famous. I'm famous now. Yeah.
And you just kind of keep going with that. And then it's like, man, my video got 100 views and then 200. And it's just like, a lot of it's just the excitement to like see some sort of progress.
Yeah.
You know, from 2 views to 4, no one's going to like write home about that. But, but just seeing the progress of it. And also kind of like you said, it's just something kind of new and fun to, I guess, call
to
a
play
hobby
with, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you do this mostly as a hobby, right? Like do you have fun doing this still?
Well, yes, but I think you mentioned this before too. Like, a lot of the times I know in my mind, like, okay, I need to upload a video Sunday. Yeah. So Saturday comes and it's like 10 o'clock at night, and I'm like, I got to get that video.
What do I do? So my wife has witnessed that. She'll witness the kind of the grind, the last minute, like, oh shit, like I promised I was going to do this video, or I've been sitting on this footage for 2 weeks and I have to edit, you know, and if it doesn't come out tomorrow, it's going to come out on like like a Tuesday, and like no one's going to watch it, but like, which is all bullshit. But it's weird. And we kind of end up, and I fall into the trap as well. Like you just kind of end up putting so much pressure on yourself and kind of making a job out of it, even though like this is not the corner of YouTube to choose if you want to make some money and get views and stuff. Like this is really like I guess the reason why I started was this was, and I guess also the reason why I was part of the community in general was this was a way to connect with people not in real life that like also read. Because I don't know about you, but I don't have a whole lot of people in real life that read. And if they do, they don't read the same kind of books. And if they do, they'll read one book here and there, and then they're not necessarily thrilled to sit down and chat about it over a beer. It's kind of not what we do. So for me, when I saw other people engaging and wanting to talk and stuff, like that was really cool. And so that's kind of what kept me here and what allured me to making videos and stuff, to create a community myself, to be able to engage in real time with people that were following what I was reading as well, which is cool. So yeah, absolutely. I can relate. My wife likes to read. My 2 best friends like to read, but outside of that, I think that's it. You know, it's just So does your wife read the same kind of books? You've mentioned your wife on your channel before. I know she has kind of a bookish store, or is it? So does she read, and what does she think about the channel? Have you had her on the channel? I haven't really seen her. If you know, I'm going back through your backlog, but
she does like to read a lot. But we have our interests intersect from time to time. But for the most part, she's like romance, thriller type reader, which you know, more power to her, but not necessarily my cup of tea. But no, she doesn't want to come onto the channel
Yeah.
but maybe one day.
Yeah. I did one video with my wife, which was, I think, our 1,000 subscriber, Q&A,
Oh,
thank
okay.
you, kind of live chat, whatever. And so there were questions for her, questions for me, and I thought it was cool to have her on, and that was kind of neat. So it's been interesting to grow because I guess like I just passed, I think, 1,700, which is like crazy to me. I mean, you've passed 6,000, which is probably gnarly. But
Yeah.
for me, anything past 100, I was like, are you serious? Like what? Like why? So that was pretty cool. And then seeing her kind of accept that this could be like a thing. And she's like, oh, okay. Like people, he's actually talking to people. He actually has some friends. It's not just like, the one guy that's watching the videos and stuff. Right. So it was cool. But,
Yeah,
so
that is really neat.
yeah. So you mentioned your wife reads some other genres and stuff. You do a lot of fantasy. You kind of touched on it, but how would you rank your genre? Do you go through different stages? Like I'm going to do a bit of a mood read May next month and just read whatever the hell I want, whenever I want. And actually I just picked up, I'm not even finished my other books. I just picked up a Harry Bosch book by Michael Connolly, which is like a crime thriller mystery. And I just was in the mood. I was just craving one. And so I go through moods.
Yeah.
But fantasy is probably the one. So would you rank your genres? Like what's most important? What do you read the most of?
I would say, yeah, as of right now, mostly fantasy. I actually just finished Riley Sager book, so I guess that'd be more like
My wife
horror
just got
thriller.
one. I can't remember which one it was. I can't remember, but she just got one.
Oh, okay.
It has like a red and black cover. It's not coming to me, but what's up, Chris?
Okay. I think I might know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like Survive the Night, I think comes to
Oh,
mind.
yeah.
And there's a couple other ones, but this one I can't quite remember what it's called.
Lock Every Door, maybe?
Yeah, I think it's something like that for sure.
Like
It's something like that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so mostly fantasy, but my like tastes have definitely evolved. So I read a lot as a kid, like I said, everything. And then when I decided as an adult that I was gonna try to read more, I started out with classics.
Yeah.
In my mind, I wanted to read real books.
Yeah, you wanted to like be a reader and be able to talk about like be smart. Yeah.
Yeah. And then quickly found out that they're kind of boring and they're good, but like if I'm just gonna read classics, this isn't gonna last. So then I kind of moved on to like nonfiction for a long time. Like I really got into like World War II history. Someone loaned me a book that I just thought was really cool, and I was like, man, I'm gonna learn about all this stuff. That lasted for a couple months, and then it was like a hodgepodge for a while there, just whatever sounded good. And now I've pretty much settled on fantasy, I would say, for the most part. But
nice.
What about you? I know you said mostly fantasy now, but like, do you read other stuff like nonfiction?
I do. Yeah, I do. But I have to say, since finding my way into booktube and kind of getting back into reading and stuff, I've really gone hard into the fiction and specifically into fantasy. So I didn't read for a long time. I got into academics and did a lot of post-secondary stuff and postgraduate stuff. And I was just tired. And so I didn't read for fun for like a long time. And this is a common theme for us booktubers and stuff. Cause like, like I got back into reading, and that's kind of where the name came from, and kind of a rekindled, passion for books and stuff. And I just was behind on a lot of fantasy. There were a ton of series, tons of books, authors that I was just like, people are gushing about. I'm like, I never like really read that. Like Lord of the Rings, I haven't even read yet. I know you're making your way through Harry Potter for the first time.
Just finished. Yeah. Just finished.
So
yesterday.
It's like,
for the first time.
I can't wait to see some of those. If you guys like reading vlogs as well, he has really good reading vlogs, really good channel, lots of different stuff. But yeah, so I like Game of Thrones. Like I'm working my way through A Song of Ice and Fire right now for the first time, loving it. A Storm of Swords, probably the best fantasy book I've ever read. And I heard that, right? I've heard that from a lot of people. And I was like, okay, like how can you even just say that, right? Like, and now I get it. Like I totally get it. Even just structurally and just like objectively, like the quality of like, it's just a very crazy book and so much happens in it. So I don't know. I wanted to kind of make my way through all that kind of stuff, but I can't deviate too much from all the other genres I like. I'm not a huge sci-fi person. It's like I have to kind of pick and choose, and there's a couple that I really like. But I would tend to pick up a thriller or a horror before I go deep into hard sci-fi. And literary fiction, like contemporary fiction, I have a couple authors, a couple books that I like. I'm going to pick up one. I showed it, I think, in a book haul. It's about this kind of mixed race kid that moves from basically like Jamaica to, I think, Toronto to go to university. And then he gets caught up in this like kind of mystery of this other kid and who was abandoned by his mom. And, you know, he feels compelled to like track this guy down and figure out what happened. And so like that one just spoke to me for some reason. So it's the odd one I'll fit in. And I like the odd memoir and biography and stuff. And usually I do those on audio because why not? Yeah. But yeah, fantasy is probably like, there's so much to read and there's so much fantasy that I'm just kind of making my way through that first. So
yeah,
yeah,
I'm like the master of starting like fantasy series. Like I've read so many book ones.
So I'm getting into that right now. I'm bouncing around a little bit and I'm having trouble like finishing up. So I think what's going to happen is by the middle of the year, which we're getting close to, I'm going to have to do a bit of a challenge and be like, okay, I'm going to be honest with the people and say, look, here's what I got on the go. And like, here's my commitment to like finishing these series, you know? Is that what you do? You read book ones and then what even if you like a series, you're like excited to pick up something different and fresh.
That's exactly it. Like I'll read book one, love it.
Me too.
Buy book two, then let it sit on my shelf while I read like so many other.
Dude, I'll buy like 9 books. I don't care how many are in the series. Sometimes I'll just buy them all and still I'll bounce around before I go back. I don't understand why. Or I'll read like 2 or 3. And if it's a long series, I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'll come back.
Yeah.
And then it just takes forever. Like I don't understand, but
there's just so much to be excited about, you know?
There's so much to be excited about.
So many worlds to jump into and then immediately abandon.
So how quickly do you feel compelled to come back to a world? Like how far can this go before you're like, okay, like I need to get back? Do you just follow your mood or?
Unfortunately, I would say so. Like the First Law trilogy. I read the first one back in the summer, like June probably.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. I mean, it wasn't like the best book I ever read, but I really liked it.
Yeah.
I have the whole box set behind me, and I was like, I'm gonna read this. I don't know, a couple weeks from now, month maybe. It's been like 7 months.
Yeah.
haven't jumped back in, but ideally, I like to not leave that much time because like my memory is just not amazing.
Mine too. So here's one thing. Like, do you find that your enjoyment declines a bit if you leave a book or series open for too long, or?
I mean, yeah, I would say so.
Kind of, yeah.
To a degree, yeah. I mean, like if I can't remember all the things that made book one good, then like why am I reading book two? You know?
Yeah.
And one kind of recently was the Greenbone Saga, which I know you're reading right now.
I'm at the tail end of Jade War. Yeah. Okay. And enjoying it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I read book one, waited like over a month for sure, 2 months maybe.
Okay.
And like could recall most of what happened in book one as I was working through book two. But like if I had immediately went into book two, I think I would have liked it even more.
Yeah, I find that to be the case too. There's a few. I think it's weird because it's kind of a catch-22. Like the more I like a book, the more I'll feel invested and remember, and the longer I can keep it open. Whereas if I'm like, okay, like I'm lukewarm or whatever, I would probably need to read the next one pretty quick so that the rest of it synthesizes and I get more value from it as a package.
Yeah.
But if it's not hitting the right notes, like I probably won't jump on it. So then it gets left and then I like it less. Like what do you do? It's the life we chose. So I guess, have you read Assassin's Apprentice? It looks like Royal Assassin's coming your way soon.
Yeah. We read that actually for book club this month. And I finished it like a few days ago.
Yeah.
And really loved it. And I bought book two. It's
just chilling. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's up there. So I want to read that pretty soon. So yeah, thank you, Marcus, for saying that.
Tracy, there are a lot of series being released. It's kind of, do you succumb to Dylan? Because I know you and I again are making our way through a ton of stuff. I mean, you're like Farseer, and it's not like stuff that has been around. Obviously the new stuff. Like, do you succumb to the FOMO a little bit when new stuff is being released?
Yes and no. No. So like a good example I can think of is like Brandon Sanderson lately. Like that's all anyone's been talking about. And like,
yeah, I've heard of him. Yep.
Yeah,
I think
he's come up a time or two.
Yeah.
And I just like, I want to read his books so much, but they're so long, and I just don't want to commit to like, I mean, like we were just talking about, if I read book 1, then like I feel like I'll need to read book 2 shortly thereafter.
It's the reason I haven't read Stormlight yet.
Yeah,
because I really want to read Way of Kings. People are probably laughing and unsubscribing as we because I have like the special edition signed, and I haven't read Way of Kings yet. And I know I'm going to really enjoy it. Now I don't know as a whole if the series is going to be like one of my favorites, but I know that I'm going to enjoy most of it for what it is. I just can't commit to it because each book is so long, and I'm like, I don't think I'll be able to finish all 4 of these books that are currently out in like a reasonable amount of time. So I need to like almost plan it, maybe jump on a read along. I need to like mentally prepare to maybe start at the beginning of a year so I know psychologically I have time. Like it's tough, right? I'm deferring all those. Like a Song of Ice and Fire I postponed for a long time because it wasn't complete. And so psychologically that was a different reason for me to kick it down the road. I'm kicking myself that I did that. But there's always reasons, right, to push on. So what makes you pick something up off the shelf that you in the past have been intimidated by or maybe didn't have time to? Do you need to kind of plan for it like I do, or do you just go one day, screw it? Like one day I just picked up it and I was like, all right, 1,100 pages, we're doing it. Like whatever, you know?
Yeah, mostly the latter. Like I'll just finish a book and think, all right, what next? And then kind of go through like, do I have like a commitment for like a book club? No. All right. Do I like already have a series that I've started? No. All right, let's just go for it then.
Let's just do it. Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. Do you try and plan those around in a month where you might have time? Like if I'm feeling like a big book, or if there's a book that I've been putting off, I'll try and adjust my TBR for that month to then also fit this chunky book in. Like, do you try and adapt around that one book or one series sometimes?
Yeah. I mean, I
guess you have to. Like,
I'm a big TBR maker.
Okay.
Not a big like TBR follow througher.
I literally had someone message me going, "Hey," like a friend of mine, right? Going, "Hey, are you reading this book right now, or did you fit?" Because your TBRs are chaos, and I can never follow if you've actually read these books, or if I'm like, it's just entertainment. You know, like I blow up TBRs all the time. And that's why I'm excited for next month, because I don't know what kind of video I'm going to make, but it's going to be like mood read May. And it's going to be like, here are a bunch of books that I kind of feel like I might read.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I'm going to pick up. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to reach for shit and we'll see.
Yeah. That's probably mostly how I choose what book I read. Just like, unless I have to read something else, just whatever sounds good.
Well, so on that note, how do you, and this is for me too, as a smaller channel looking up to somebody like you, how do you balance like reading for the channel versus reading something you truly, obviously ideally they overlap and go, I really want to read this book. The content's going to be good. People kind of would want to see me read this. And of course, book club, TBR, like patron picks and all that stuff. How do you balance that? Do you ever read stuff that you don't really want to, or you're kicking yourself for committing to it? Now you have to finish it. How do you juggle that? Is that just a trap I fall into?
Sort of. No, not at all. Not at all. So kind of going back to what we were just talking about, like Stormlight Archive, for example, like I want to read that, but in the back of my mind, I know like I can't talk about one book for a month on the channel because then every video is the same and no one cares.
That has prevented me from reading stuff too, because I'm like, I know that I'm going to be able to read like 2 other books.
Right.
And this book is going to take like 3 months to finish. And I don't want to pick it up every time and talk about it and go, hey guys, like I'm 3/4 done this book. Like, here's what happened. Like no one cares. So it's difficult. Yeah. It's kind of tricky.
Like I totally ripped off the idea. I mean, I don't think he invented it, but Mike's Book Reviews, which is a channel that
for sure,
my second favorite after Theo.
Yeah,
where he does his weekly update videos, and I was like, that is such a cool idea. I'm going to do that. Well, I quickly realized I do not read enough to do a weekly update.
That's what happened to me. I did a mid-month one day because I realized, and now it's sort of a thing I realized, but I don't have enough to talk about on a weekly basis. But there was enough halfway through where I'm like, guys, like I watched this movie, or I did these videos, come check them out. Or, you know, I read this and it was amazing and I'm planning to read this. Like there was enough in the middle of the month to kind of do a touch point.
Yeah.
So yeah. So you do that too, hey? Every couple weeks.
I call it a weekly update, but it's like a bi-weekly.
But you're
update.
Lying to everyone. Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
it's
I
a
get
lie.
it. Yeah, for sure.
It's fraud.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's just, it's hard balancing. Like, you know, I want to read for pleasure first and foremost, I would say. But like, also if I'm gonna have a channel, I should try to keep it somewhat mildly interesting, you know?
Right. Yeah, for sure. I always kind of said like, I'm going to do this for as long as it's fun. And when it's kind of not, I'll have to change something. You know what I mean? And I don't know what that would entail, but yeah, it has to be fun. Like, how do you, cause you post a lot and at least you have, and I know you touched on it lately where maybe you'll be posting less or you'll be more deliberate with kind of what you're doing and when, but for a long time you were posting a ton. And I'm just curious, how is your lifestyle conducive to that? Is it something just you prioritize? Do you lie about everything you read and you just make videos?
Basically.
Like what? Yeah. How do you juggle that? Because I find the biggest challenge for me is scheduling and fitting everything in, finding time, being disciplined, recording and editing, and trying to like stick to a bit of a schedule. And I've gotten looser with that. I don't really care if my videos come out on Sunday every day, but I want to do minimum one a week, sometimes two. And that's all I can commit to. And so far it's been okay. How do you juggle the schedule?
Yeah. It's not necessarily the making the videos that I find difficult. I mean, I think recording the videos, editing the videos, compared to actually like sitting down and reading 1,000-page book, it's to me a little bit easier.
The reading takes the time, actually. You're right.
So like, but as far as like posting schedule, I just realized like, I mean, look, you know, I'm a handsome guy, but no one wants to see me on their feed like every day, you know?
Well, maybe not every day. Yeah. There is, I do agree. And I think this is becoming more widely accepted. The fact that there's a diminishing utility of like, you know, just the posting all the time, right?
Yeah.
And if you post too often, people get a backlog of your stuff. And if you don't post quite enough, people kind of forget about you. But I think there's a sweet spot, and it's probably 2 videos a week. Yeah. I can only really do 1 most weeks, but the sweet spot's probably 2 a week. Because then your handsome comes on screen enough, but not too much. You know what I mean? And it doesn't make other people feel bad if they see your face every day. They're like, God damn, you know, why don't I look like that? So yeah, exactly. I don't know how that must feel, but yeah. So do you have you have a wife? You're married. Do you have kids?
I do not.
Okay, because I'd feel terrible if you had like 11 children, like Andrew's Wizardly Reads does, and I'd be like, dude, how do you do this? Because I'd be pissed.
I cannot imagine. No.
I can't imagine. It's already difficult throwing kids and stuff. Like I wonder what's going to happen. My wife and I are at that stage when we're talking about like planning.
Yeah.
And so next year, like it's not, you know, ridiculous to think that we might be there at some point or close or in the process of trying or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know how this is going to happen. Like you might just see like a little like bassinet over here or like a little jumper or whatever, and like just kids hanging out. Like, I don't know how it's going to work. This is going to be the room that children are probably going to have to occupy. And so my books are probably need to go somewhere else. So I don't know how that's going to work, but
yeah,
it's something I don't want to think about. Yeah.
I cannot fathom. Like,
no.
Do you commute for work or do you like work from home?
I used to commute more, and I work from home mostly now. So where you see me is kind of at my office. So this is like my desk, my office, and I've just put up kind of my books and stuff behind me. But mostly I work from here. And there are a couple days a week that I would typically work downtown, where now it's a little bit less. So I can commute as much as I'd want to, but I can also work from home kind of as much as I'd want to, which is kind of what I've been preferring lately. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, because you can roll out of your bed in your underwear and kind of get to work. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, if you're forced to get up and shower and do your whole thing, not like I don't shower when I don't commute, but you're forced to commute, and you have that. For me, it's about an hour. Like door to door, it's an hour. and you're forced to just do that, and you can read and you know that that's your time. Whereas here it's distracting. It's maybe my wife's home or whatever, and we have a cup of coffee or watch a show or play with my cat or just be lazy and sleep in because I feel like I can. And then you get less reading time some days, actually.
Yeah.
So it's weird, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't, Tracy, I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy because I can barely read. But there are some booktubers that, and some people that I know that can just read a ton. There's somebody in our Discord, somebody really like, part of the community, everybody would know him, who reads like 30, 35 books a month. And so he'll post like in the Discord, for example, like, oh, here's my April wrap up. Here's kind of like what I read. And it's like literally my like annual list. Like it's like 40 books. And I'm like, I don't know how that's possible. I think a lot of it is audio. A lot of it is fitting it in. A lot of it is speeding it up. And everyone can consume content differently. And so I wish, like there are people that can't listen to audio that wish they could. I wish I could listen to audio a little faster. I mean, it's pretty fast. Like my wife is like, how are you listening to that? To me, it's like not that fast. But I wish I could listen to audio while I'm working, because then that's all I would do, and I could listen to 100 books a year. But I don't know. How do you read what you read? Like, do you prioritize reading? Do you read? How quickly do you read? Like, are you average?
I would say so. So. I mean, kind of to your point, like my wife, we share an office. So yeah, this like just like you, this is where I do my work, and then her desk is like right there. So we live in like a tiny apartment. Cool. So we share a little office. And like her work, she's like designing, drawing, like packaging stuff up for her job. So like she's just listening to audiobooks all day long. And so she's read like 40 books this year. And I don't have the brain for that. And also like the type of stuff I do, like I can't divide what little bit of brain I have.
Neither can I. Yeah. Neither can
I can't do that. So I've read like 18 books this year, something like that. Yeah. And I just envy people that can do that. But to answer your question, I do listen to a lot of audio like when I can, like chores, cooking, stuff like that. Otherwise, I just before bed, as much time as I can get in, I'm on my Kindle or finding a little bit of light to read by. And just fitting it in.
I wish I could read more at night. At night is kind of when I have the most time. But like when the wife and I wind down, we'll watch a show, whatever. Boom, we're old people in bed with hours to spare, I promise. And I just can't. I just fall asleep. And I find when I get too tired reading by, with my eyes, I'll put on audio a bit to kind of doze off and at least listen and continue. And then I just fall asleep. Like I can't. So is nighttime your most productive reading time? Is that when you get the most in?
Okay. I'm definitely a night owl. I can't. The mornings are not good for reading or for doing anything. So at night I'm up usually way too late, just trying to finish a book. But I don't know. I kind of envy you, like just being able to fall asleep while you're listening to a book. I couldn't. My brain doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I can't. I get to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm no longer remembering what's happening. I've rewound like 4 times. Like I'm done and just need to go to bed. So it's too much. What are you reading right now? What's on deck right now?
I'm currently reading Jade Legacy.
Nice.
Not very far into it, but like chapter 4 maybe.
Okay. No jaw-dropping moments yet? No like epic fist pumping?
Not yet. Okay. But it is.
I have big expectations for that book. People,
I don't want to be the guy who hypes it up too much, but book 2 is great. Book 3 so far, 4% in is pretty good.
I'm going to be listening to what you have to say about that because I'll, based on what you say, no pressure, but based on what you say, I'll either pick it up right away or leave it and pick up some mood reads in May and then maybe get back to Jade Legacy in June. So.
Wow, no pressure.
Your opinion right now will guide the rest of my channel, basically. So it's up to you. It's up to you. I hope you like it. I hope it really like wraps everything up. Just because you've enjoyed it so far. What did you give those books? Jade City, Jade War out of 5. Do you do ratings?
I think I gave Jade City 4 stars.
Okay.
And that's because
That's
I
fair.
chose it for a little book club that my wife and I are in.
Okay.
So I felt like a lot of pressure to be modest. You know, I don't want to choose the book and then like rave about it. So I
Yeah.
was like, yeah,
Yeah.
4 stars
It's
is fine.
awesome because it chose it. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
And then book 2, 5 stars. But I'm a pretty generous rater, honestly.
I
Like,
am too. I've become so. I mean, there are some books that I go back into the past, into Goodreads, into like the depths of before, and go, that is not a 5-star book. And like, how did I rate this one a 4 and that what the? But you have to appreciate that your tastes will evolve, I think, over time,
yeah.
and that's just how has your reading taste or speed or habits changed since booktube? Are you still the same reader you were a couple years? I mean, obviously we all change, but has
Yeah.
booktube changed you a bit
I would say
for the
it's
better,
definitely a
for the
double-edged
worse?
sword.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, both, I would say. I mean, recording, editing takes a lot of time. Time I
Yeah, man.
probably would have spent reading. So I'd
That's
probably
the
read
funny
less.
thing is I've told people this. I'm like, dude, if I didn't make videos, I would
Yeah.
also read 7, 8, 10 books a month, but like I can't.
Yeah,
So it takes a lot more time than I thought it would to do
absolutely.
this. Yeah.
And like it's embarrassing for me because my videos are so like simple. Like,
No, I
why
don't
am I
think
spending
so. But
5 hours on this video?
there's a bare minimum amount of time that it takes
Yeah.
to click and do the whole thing and talk and repeat yourself till you get it right, like I do, and then post it. And even the little things like, okay, you upload a video, but then you got to come up with a thumbnail and you got to do your own. And your thumbnails are amazing, by the way. They're very clickable. They look sharp. Like, I don't know if you have some photography backgrounds, but your camera's very good. Like, they're excellent, by the way.
Thank you. My
But
wife
that takes
gets all the
time.
credit.
Yeah, that takes time. The description, you got to link everything. You got to link other channels sometimes. You got to copyright your music and make sure everything's in the right spot. You got to put your, like, it actually, from when you have the video ready to go, there's a whole other step that a lot of people don't necessarily think about. It takes a long time.
For
It's
sure.
crazy.
And like I
I'm
said,
quitting. I'm actually quitting.
Yeah.
This is the stream that I tell
This is
everyone.
the send
By
off.
the way, I've talked myself out of it. It's not worth it. Yeah,
It is a lot of work, which like kind of going
it
back
is.
to like in the
Yeah.
beginning when I'm getting like maybe 2 views, I'm like,
Why
7
am I
hours
doing
on this? Like, why? Who cares?
Right? Like there have been a couple days, especially when you're new and you're new to software or new to your camera or new to whatever, or maybe you just read a book and you're like, I don't really know how to review this, but I'm going to try. And then it takes you 2 days to figure it out because you're an idiot like I am. And my wife's literally witnessed, like, I've spent an entire weekend trying to make a video, and like it just, sometimes it works. Most of the time it works. Sometimes it doesn't. And you know, every once in a while, if you take a step back, you'd probably think like, is it worth it? Like if that was my friend, would I be like, bro, listen, you could probably do something different, you know? But then you post and people comment, and we have streams like this and your Discord and the book clubs, and then it kind of all makes it worth it. You know what I mean?
Without
Then
a
you
doubt.
get the value, right? Yeah. Yeah. Editing is actually, Matt, I think your editing is actually really good. You have a good, you've been really good with the shorts and stuff lately, I've noticed. But yeah, editing, do you have any background with photography, videography, Photoshop, video editing? Like,
Not really. Not really. So like back in 2020, my wife and I actually sold our house and we like traveled full time for like a year almost.
wow,
And we were like, man, this is like a
that's
golden
awesome.
opportunity to do like a travel channel or something, you know?
100%. Yeah.
So like kind of towards the tail end of it, of course, I was like, let's make some videos. Let's throw something together. Obviously they were terrible, but I did learn a lot about editing back then. And then, you know, promptly forgot it all by the time I started editing booktube videos. But
Sure.
I was at least familiar with Premiere Pro, which is what I use. So
I was going to ask you, how do you edit your videos? You use Adobe? Do you use Photoshop? Like, can you use Photoshop? Like, what do you use to do all your stuff?
I don't. My wife, like I said, she's the one who makes my thumbnails. So any credit goes to her for sure.
They're excellent.
Canva.
Canva. I use Canva a lot. And Canva and Photoshop together. Photoshop
Really?
a little bit. Photoshop is tricky. And I use it for certain things, but Canva has become a necessity to the point where I pay for the slightly upgraded version of it because it's just, there's so much there that is. What's your favorite part? I love edit. So editing has become, now that I'm more fluent with it, and I use Filmora as the program, and I had Adobe for a while, but Filmora, I've just kind of gotten used to it. And, you know, it's like a language. You get to speak it, and it's just, you don't want to change. But yeah, I love editing, even though it takes me the most time. I can't wait till I'm done recording. You know, if I look okay, that's a bonus. I hit stop and I have this footage and I'm like, okay, sweet. Now I get to do the editing part. And that's where I have fun. And
Really?
probably take two. Yeah. And my videos suck. Like I try, but like that's where I spend too much time for probably not a whole lot of value add. But I if I ever go back and watch a video, I'll be like, oh sweet, I'm glad I spent an extra hour to like do whatever the hell I tried to do that day. So always
Yeah.
experimenting. Yeah.
I'm kind of the opposite. Like I just like rambling to my camera
Yep. A lot of takes.
yeah, a
Yep.
million, especially in the beginning. Like
Oh, dude.
if you've seen any of my early videos, which I don't think you have, and I hope you never do. Like
Yeah,
I'm
right.
like
Yeah.
3 words cut, 3 words cut.
So I was kind of like that too. And there is a bit of a, like, I have a bit of a choppy, quick pace, like YouTube style.
Yeah.
Like I like to chop out the ums and ahs and breaths and stuff. So that's my style, but it does camouflage a lot of the bullshit and a lot of the whoops. Like I don't know what I'm doing today. So yeah, I agree. But it's also a style for sure.
Yeah. Editing it, like if it's a big video that I'm like really excited about, then I'll put a little extra effort into it. But a lot of the times I'm like, edit out the mistakes, slap on a couple photos if I can,
Yeah.
and then just call it a day.
What I have realized is I think, and it's a little disheartening, but I think it's the truth. A lot of people will appreciate it. Most people won't care if you've spent 4 hours on a video or like one. Like it's cool to go back and be like, oh, that turned out kind of cool. But like most people are going to kind of just watch it or skip through it or speed it up, maybe listen to it in their pocket and not actually watch it. And they're there for you and the content and the books and the reviews, the recommendations, whatever. And like if you put up that one picture and you have a little bit of a graphic and it's doing stuff, like no one really cares. The odd people will give you a high five and go, I know that took effort. That was actually cool. Most people don't care. They're there for you and your personality and stuff, which is kind of nice. But then it's kind of like, but did you watch that video? Because like I did some shit. Like that was pretty cool. And like no one cares. So I think
I know what you mean. And maybe just because like I know what it's like to sit down and edit a video, but like your last video that you did, I noticed you had some really cool like
oh thanks man
complex graphics that I thought added a lot to the video.
I'm trying to experiment. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And at the end, you're like, well, that took 2 hours. So guess what? It's staying, even though it looks like trash. So yeah, I agree. Your personality can come through in editing. The worst thing is when you can't quite edit the way you want and your personality can't quite come through the way that you envision it. Like sometimes I want to edit a video a certain way and I can't. I don't have the skill. I don't have the time. And I'm like, well, that's not exactly the way I want that video to look or sound or feel. But fuck it, it's booktube and I can only do what I can do. So I'm just one man. Aside from Dylan and his team of management and editors and stuff. I think it's about the content for sure, the information, What was your what's your favorite type of content to make, and maybe what's your favorite like video that you've done? Not to put you on the spot because it's hard to choose a favorite. It's hard to even remember what I had for lunch earlier, but
for sure. So I mean, a favorite. That's tough. Yeah,
it is tough. They're all like babies.
Yeah. Some Kindle videos I did are probably favorites just because they've been like definitely the most popular for the channel. Totally. And I had kind of, used to do a lot of research for those videos.
Yeah.
So I always kind of enjoy the process.
A ton of research. That's one thing too, is some people don't realize, maybe they do, but maybe they don't stop to really consider it. But some videos take an awful amount of research. Sometimes it can take days, weeks of research to compile, take notes, whatever, when you're out and about to make like a 10-minute video. It's crazy. Yeah. So yeah,
absolutely. Like one that it's kind of on the back burner is like a Kindle Unlimited video.
Yeah. Thanks,
but
Tracy.
like, man, finding those books and like putting them together, it's just a lot of work for like a 10-minute video that people are going to play at like 2 times speed while it's in their pocket,
For sure. The NYC video is my favorite. Is that a recent one you did? You had was it an NYC book like vlog? What was it?
Yeah, relatively recently. Thank you, Marcus, by the way. I appreciate that.
A couple weeks, right? Within? No?
We were there for like a week. Yeah. Okay. And then just kind of shopped around, found some cool places to read, stuff like that. Yeah,
Library Hotel. Yeah.
It was a ton of fun. Man,
Sweet.
I'm gonna have to go back. You guys enjoyed that video.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll justify it. It was fun. I kind of like reading vlogs.
Okay.
But at the same time, like in public, I feel super awkward, like talking to my phone in front of people.
Yep. Me too. Then
rough.
You're that guy walking down the street, like,
Like,
hey guys.
I laugh at,
People look at you and you're like, listen, I'm just talking to all my fans. Like, just leave me alone, right? And they think you're like, how do you convince someone that you're famous? Like, how do you? It's so stupid.
Yeah.
I got to check out this Library Hotel video. I think that I came across it, but I don't remember it the way these people are remembering it. So I got to check that out. What was the context there?
It was actually
this Library Hotel.
It was part of, actually, I think it was a separate video to the New York City vlog.
Okay.
But basically, a little look behind the curtain. My wife and I wanted to celebrate our anniversary in New York City. It's where we spent our honeymoon. So it was like
cool.
kind of nostalgia.
Yep.
And we were like, we came across this hotel, Library Hotel. It's like a hotel with books. It was really cool, but like it's mostly just a hotel.
Sweet.
And so I was like, man, I wonder if, at this time I had like 1,000 subscribers, 2,000 subscribers. Yeah. So not in a position to like negotiate crazy deals, but I was like, you know what? I'm niched enough. Maybe I could convince them to like hook me up with a night or something and make this New York trip slightly cheaper. And so I reached out and the guy did not care. I was like, I have a YouTube channel where I talk about books. And he's like, all right, just apply. And I was like, okay. And the next day he was like, hey, come on. So
sweet.
Yeah, it was.
So you got to stay at that place?
I got to stay there. One night was comped. The other night was like half off, I think, something like that.
Dude, I'll take it all day long.
Yeah, for sure.
100%, man. Yeah, man. I want to. Thick Jersey accent ain't easy to do. Yeah, you know what? I like your videos, Dan. You are a good example of personality coming through a video for sure. I just want to travel and high five you and go out for some food. Like you're very interesting. He's a new channel, obviously. Just good stuff. And he's reading some books that I recently enjoyed as well. So it's always cool to see people find stuff that you've recently discovered and recently enjoyed and stuff like that's like, do you still recommend books? Do you like, obviously we talk about what we're reading and what we're going to read and all that kind of stuff. Do you ever like specifically recommend books to people or make videos where you do that or?
Not often. So I think in January I did, I know I did the video, like top 10 books I read in 2022, something like that.
Sure.
And so, I recommended those books. But I feel like a lot of times it's just a lot of pressure, and reading a book is like kind of a big investment in time. We're talking 8 to 12 hours probably for like 300-page book, something like that. Don't quote me on that. But, so like, I don't want to be the guy who says you have to read this book, and then they spend like half of their day reading it and hate it. But
and then they want half their day back from you, and they're like, you owe me my time.
Yeah, and then they never come back to the channel because they're like, this guy's taste in books is awful.
Yeah. I think that's part of the risk of spreading yourself too thin. Like, I'm just going to read what I want when I want and hope that I overlap. But the risk in that is people come watch 1 or 2 videos and go, like, people come watch a couple reading vlogs of yours, go, oh, this guy's reading Harry Potter. Like, I'm out.
Yeah.
But like, no, there's so much more to it. And so you risk that a little bit if you're reading too broadly, but I enjoy doing that. So
yeah,
whatever.
So I'm glad you bring that up because I kind of wanted to talk to you about like YouTube theory. So like on my channel, I've got some Kindle videos, like five to 10 somewhere.
They're awesome, by the way. If you have a Kindle and you want some tips and secrets and hints and really cool stuff, like go to Dylan's channel, subscribe and then come back. Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you for that, Theo.
Yeah.
And those videos by far were the most popular. Why? I don't know, because I appreciate your kind words, but I would say those videos were not amazing. But a lot of people found my channel through those videos.
Right.
And like my thinking at the time was like, because I've always been primarily passionate about books and I own a Kindle and think it's kind of cool. So I was like, okay, I'll make some videos about it. But my rationale was like, they'll come for the Kindle videos, stay for the book videos.
Yep.
But
that might be tricky. A tricky balance to strike.
Yeah,
right.
It did. I mean, it did to a degree, but like not in the way I had hoped. So I mean, kind of thinking about like subscribers, like
Yeah.
6,000, but probably 5,000 of those are from like 5 to 10 Kindle videos that I did, and then
Right.
no one returns to my channel.
Right.
So it's just like, I feel like I played myself sometimes with that strategy. But I
You
wanted
know
to ask
what?
you, like, how do you find that, like, do you find that to be true generally?
So I'm not famous yet like you are, so I can't speak to the success that booktube like can be, but I can understand that. I think like the best part about it is to have kind of a loyal community of people that you can engage with. And I've seen channels with 10, 12, 15, 20,000 subscribers. They'll do a live stream or they'll do, you know, a video and get like a couple hundred views. They'll have 50
Yeah.
people watching. And I'm like, where are the thousands of people? Because people find channels for different reasons and they come back and continue to engage for different reasons. So I think yours is probably a situation where they're there for certain kind of content, and the interaction and engagement with the reading and whatever, like maybe that's not what they're there for. So you still have this core loyal kind of Dylan Johns like book club fan club, but then the rest is kind of just ancillary. So I wonder, because that core group, and I feel like most of my channel is, I'm grateful enough to say, is that core group. And that's why it's been like a slow, steady thing for me. It's very slow, but very steady. And I feel like if I hit 2,000 at some point this year, which I'll be so grateful for, I think that'd be really cool. It's kind of crazy. I don't really think about it all the time, but if it were to happen, I would know that like a lot of those people I've interacted with, and a lot of people take the time to comment. When I get like 50 comments on a video, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, that's amazing. And I think that's why we do it.
Yeah.
But there's a place for videos that are just informative. You know what I mean? Like they're just there for info. And you have a lot of those. And I think all they do is add value to that smaller core group of people. I wouldn't say that your other videos detract from your other thousands of subscribers. It's just those videos that you make that get so many views and have beautiful like hidden gem, you know, info. They just add value to your smaller core group. I would think about it that way. How about that? Spin it positive.
Yeah. What made me
What
feel
else
good
can we
about
do?
myself? Wow.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But you have some videos that are like 40, 50. You have a video that has hundreds of thousands of views. Which one is that? The Libby? No.
Yeah, I think it's like a Kindle Paperwhite review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a lot of views. There. So I don't know if you didn't really answer this, but like, are those some of your favorites because of the subscribers and the views and the attention that they got? And you're like, oh, like that's, I know you weren't maybe proud of them. I would disagree, but for, you know, every content creator has their own thing.
Yeah.
Do you like those for that reason, or are you more proud of other videos that people don't watch as much? Or
Yeah, so I guess they both have things to be proud of. So like ironically, like those Kindle videos were some of like the first that I put out. Relatively.
Right.
Like probably 4 months in, 5 months into having the channel. So I was like, wow. Like, you know, sky's the limit, man.
Yeah.
And then like
I'm gonna retire soon.
Yeah. And then quickly come back to like reality when my next video gets like 300 views max. But I did appreciate those videos for like what they did for the channel.
Yeah.
But I also really appreciate like actually probably one of my favorite series to do on the channel is my book of the month video, which is like a subscription box where we just go through those books. And I always like to see in the comments, like, you know, everyone says what book they're going to choose, what they thought of the month's selections, like what they read last month and really enjoyed. I just think those are some of the
I like those videos, and they make me sad that, because that's your subscription, right? The book of the month.
Yeah.
Like that one makes me want a subscription. And I'm in Canada, and to answer a question here, you're not part of Team Canada. You're on the other side, unfortunately, on the east coast of the USA. But it makes me sad because I want to join in with these subscription boxes. Some of them are amazing, and they give you a lot of value for the money. But shipping them to Canada is often can be cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
And so like I think the Broken Binding one, to get it to Canada is actually pretty expensive. And even a couple of Kickstarters I wasn't able to back because the shipping, like the Brandon Sanderson one,
really,
the shipping was like more than the books. And I was like, oh man, I can't. So yeah.
I know there's another one, Aardvark. something like that. They're actually based in Canada, but ironically, they might only be a US subscription. I don't know that.
You guys get everything. You guys get everything, right? I am on the West Coast, so I'm in Vancouver. So yeah, West Coast of Canada. Yep. Because you really listen to my comments and you answer me honestly, and I appreciate that. Do you try and do you still try and answer as many comments as you can? I've engaged with you in the comments, and especially when we first got to know each other, I was like, oh shit, he's like reading stuff. Do you try and read comments? Is that is it a priority of yours?
I read them all. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get backed up a lot. So like I'll leave it for a few days and then I'll just do like a sprint where I spend like an hour responding to comments. But yeah, I mean, that's my favorite part. I say it in the videos and it sounds kind of cheesy, but I mean, that's pretty much why I make the videos, to get comments, well, talk to people.
Good, man. That's awesome. Me too. And actually this one leads right into a question that I actually had was, do you have any advice for people starting channels? Do you have any cautious, words of caution? Do you have any motivation? Like, what would you suggest?
That's a hard
because you've done really well. I will say, it's not just like, oh, like what would you tell yourself when you start? Like, you've actually done really well. So I think a lot of smaller channels will be really curious, including myself. Yeah.
I would say if you can, maybe don't spread yourself too thin as far as like the content that you make. I think that's been maybe one of my problems. I mean, again, I don't know how the YouTube algorithm works, but like, especially in the beginning, middle, like of last year, I was like talking about thriller books, and then I was like Kindle, and then I was like book of the month. And so like, I feel like the algorithm is like, who is confused. This guy? Like, who do we show his videos to, Yeah. So if you like have a genre or a couple genres that you really like, then maybe, I don't know. I mean, I made the mistake, so I don't know. I don't know if this is good advice or not, but I would say maybe try to find your niche, and just be the best in that niche, and just have fun. I mean, it sounds stupid. Everyone says it. Have
fun. That's my advice: is have fun and make sure that you take time to break away from the sense of like urgency and commitment and stuff to like make content, keep it, the biggest tips you'll see on YouTube is like, be consistent, post on a schedule, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, but then still enjoy yourself. Like, remember to then go back and read books that you like. And like you said, I think it's a good idea. Like, if you're going to read 5 books that month and you pick up a couple books that maybe your core audience isn't keen on or probably wouldn't read or whatever, like maybe slide them in strategic ways into your video, and maybe don't like highlight them in the way that would detract from your position in the algorithm. Like you said, it's a very good idea. I would agree with that. We also have some traders in the chat, I see, which is really disheartening.
Oh, wow.
That's fine. We lost a couple to you guys. That's fine. Grab a phone and do it. You will learn as you go. That's what I'm doing. My last video is so much different from my first. Yeah. One thing is, like you said, you evolve and your equipment changes. I know you got like a new mic halfway, part way through, and people upgrade their cameras all the time and start paying for Canva so they can do cool things, stuff like that. And yeah, I think the important thing is to just pick it up, learn it as you go. But know that you're going to evolve. Like, your first few videos are just, I don't want to say they're going to suck, because like, you pick up a book, you read it, you talk about it to people. Like, it's going to be a good video either way, but you're going to sense the change in vibe and in, background and lighting and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's just going to change. So you're just going to have to do it, and then it'll just evolve. I don't know. So
for sure. And I mean, it sounds kind of cynical maybe, but something I tell myself a lot, at least, that makes me feel slightly better is like, no one cares as much as I do. So like
100%.
If like, it's terrible, like,
I have to take a minute and just remember, because I watch a lot of booktube. I'm assuming you still do too. Like, you consume a lot of booktube yourself.
I do. I've been trying to cut back because I spend too much time on YouTube, but yes, I do.
Yeah, same. So I think it's important to like remind yourself that like everyone's the same to a point. And like, I'm going to watch a Dylan Johns video, and then I'm going to watch like 15 other videos back to back. Like, I'm no longer thinking of your video. I will have commented. I will have, been impressed by it. I may have saved it. I may have shared it and sent it to someone, but I'm not going to sit there and dissect your video for 24 hours of my day like you might. Right. So it's like, relax. Like, it's fine. even if it's a mistake. Have you ever found a mistake in your video? Have you posted it and then found a mistake and go, man, there's already 13 comments. I really want to re-upload this damn thing, but like it's in the thing now. It's in the universe. Or do you care? Once it's out, do you care?
No and no, not really. So okay. I do, like, I edit it and then I watch it back to myself. And usually my wife will watch with me. So I got two sets of eyeballs on it. I have almost uploaded embarrassing stuff in videos before, like where I like forget to cut out a mess up. And so there's like a 30-second clip of me just like looking around my room, like thinking about what I'm going to say. But I have always caught it, fortunately. But even if I didn't, no, I would have just probably left it and maybe put a comment like at minute, whatever. I forgot where I was at.
I've done that before. I've put in a comment and pinned it and been like, hey, I just said this. It's completely not correct or true. Like disregard. So yeah. Or like, it's like sending an email with a typo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's funny.
Yeah. It's just I have a couple questions here that I've been saving for somebody to pick their brain. So one of them, because I was asked this and I didn't really know how to answer. And I think it says, what are some trends in the bookish like world community that like excite you, and how are you planning to adapt to those with your channel? So like one that came to mind, for example, was the resurgence of like the leather-bound deluxe special edition. Like that is kind of what people our age are gravitating to. We grew up with books, we grew up with libraries, we grew up with like the hard, tangible thing. And now books have become very much commoditized like they kind of were before. A lot of digital, a lot of audio, and the small little like flimsy paperbacks that you can just chuck around like have lost some of their value. So we try and bring these sexy, special, like beautiful editions that look like something we wanted back in the day. And I feel like that's a trend that's coming back that I appreciate and I enjoy. But it's hard to stay ahead of that and to keep up because they're expensive.
Yeah.
And as much as I want to show off all these beautiful editions to people, like I can't buy them. So like, is there anything that you're seeing in the book world? That's kind of, I probably stole your answer. That's probably a good answer.
That is a great answer.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I threw you under the bus, man.
Yeah. No, that's
good luck with this one.
Yeah. No, that is a good question and definitely a good answer. I would say one thing that I think has been really cool lately. I don't know if this is really an answer to the way to the question the way it was asked, but like supporting smaller authors, I think, or like buying directly from an author, something that I've seen a little bit lately that I think is a really cool thing. Like books obviously are a product that people, it's a product, but it's unique in that it's usually like not a one man or woman product, but generally it's like someone's story that they worked on for a year or more and have put out into the world. And so like with Kindle Unlimited, stuff like that, I think those types of books are a lot more accessible. And I think it's just cool to, not just for the sake of doing it, but support smaller authors.
I would agree with that. That's a very good answer, actually. Do you write at all? Have you written any aspirations to write something yourself?
Yeah, I mean, so I think anyone who reads a lot always in the back of their mind says like, one day,
I wonder if I could do that.
I'm going to write a book. Yeah. So I'm kind of at that right now. I'm actually reading On Writing by Stephen King. It's kind of been like my introduction.
Great book.
So good. Like I have a little bit of it left, like 50 pages left, and I just don't want to finish it because like I don't want it to be over.
I think he narrates the audio for that.
Yeah.
And it's good. He's not the best narrator for his fiction, but like a memoir like that, very, very good. And there's some very kind of emotional like stories in there, actually.
Yeah.
To touch on the like what you said with supporting smaller authors, self-publishing, all that, I wonder, because sometimes I think there's probably never been an easier time to get your written product to a mass audience and kind of get direct support from people. But I think the double-edged sword to that is there's much more constant competition and it's a little saturated.
For sure.
So I wonder how authors do that. Like if I wanted to write a book, I'd be like, sweet, like I could build up a little like following and like, I can market myself and build up a little thing or do some cool Kickstarters or do some whatever, or send more value in the form of signed copies, like you said. But then like everyone is able to do that more easily now than ever before. So I wonder how, like, I have a lot of respect for people that self-publish and do do the whole author thing and write stuff that we enjoy reading. Cause like, I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah.
That whole other side of it, the whole business side of it. And I'm pretty business astute. Like I'm in that world a little bit. I don't know if I could do it.
For sure. I mean, it sounds super easy. Like, I'm just going to write a story.
Right.
And then you start to do it and you're like,
get people to read it. Hopefully a couple like it. They might review it and I'll be rich. It's simple.
It sounds so easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, it's kind of like a double whammy because, I mean, anecdotally, people read less and less today. Is that true? I don't know.
That's also true.
But
I think as a whole, as a population, agreed. It's hard to recognize that in our small niche.
Yeah.
But the world in general, I think that's true. Yeah.
So less readers, more people writing. And like we said, a book is kind of a commitment. You know, you're going to spend probably a week or so if you're just a normal person reading a book. Yeah. So it's easier, but also harder to get out there. I would say it's a weird landscape. Like for people that have a passion for it, have a little bit of a following or have kind of the grind in them to like get the book out there and do their thing. Like, there's a lot of communities, there's a lot of discourse, there's a lot of resources and competitions and stuff to get eyes on it. Do you read a lot of self-pub? I'm starting this year to read more and more. And I have a couple I'm sitting on that I'm very excited to read. Do you make a point of reading some self-pub? So I've tried to. Definitely going to sound like a hypocrite after my answer to your previous question, but I read a little bit, but not as much as I would like. And my excuse that I'm going to go with is just that there's so many, like we kind of talked about, series that I want to read, and I feel like I need to hit the big ones and kind of trickle down. And
how do you explain that to? Because like I feel the exact same way. I'm catching up on a lot of popular and it's like it's kind of like that thing. Like if I can just do this first. Then I, if I just made enough money, then I'll have a kid, or then I'll get married, or if I could just buy a house, then like, if I could just read everything I've never read before, then I'll read all the new shit. Like it's never going to happen. Yeah. So I just want to read some of the big ones and here's the thing. If I could read 20, 30 books a month, damn right, I would fit in 10 self-pubs a month, but like I can't. Right. Yeah. And if I can only read 4 books, granted, sometimes they're pretty chunky, so maybe 5, 6 small ones. I gotta be selective, and I can only fit 1 or 2 maybe self-pubs in there. And I feel bad because I get review requests, like I'm sure you do all the time, and I have to really think. I'm like, I don't want to accept something that I can't review, right, and turn around in a reasonable amount of time. So what I tell people is like, I'll get to it. I appreciate it. Thank you for thinking of me. Can't necessarily commit to it, but I promise I'll circle back at some point when I'm able to, and I'm starting to be able to fit those in. So
nice.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah.
Adding manga to their book reviews. I think that is cool too. I did something kind of interesting. So on my last book haul, I included this like comic book bind up of the Ninja Turtles, like the Last Ronin kind of dark, like reimagined story, that kind of the new stuff. And I haven't really done comics. I haven't really done manga. I have Vinland Saga behind me, and that was my first foray into it, and I enjoyed it, but I only got 1 book in. Even though they're so quick, there's too much to read, and I'm like, I need to talk about these books, and like manga, like it's not gonna be a huge thing on the channel.
Yeah.
But it's helped a lot of people, and there's some channels that have blown up because of it. So I don't know. Yeah. Do you read graphic stuff?
That is interesting that you bring that up. So I was just reading this today. Like I started this first ever manga today.
Interesting. Really interesting. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm like halfway through, so probably like an hour read or 2 hours maybe.
Are you enjoying it?
So far, yeah. So I've never really thought I would be interested in manga, like as judgmental as it sounds. I just never really thought of myself as like a person that could get into that.
Same with me. The reason why I decided to try it was because I kind of liked the idea of having something on deck. First of all, just to explore and experience why is it so popular? I was curious, but also because I like the idea of having something I can pick up, keep on the bedside table, pick up when I'm kind of tired, still want to read, don't necessarily want to throw on an audiobook, or maybe don't have one, something that's a little bit less commitment, something that I can just, easy, low brain power, just look at some pictures, and not that they're not complex and good narratives and stuff, but just something just easy.
Right.
So,
yeah. Just something to have fun with and not think too much about,
Yeah.
And I thought about kind of talking about manga on the channel a little bit if I did find myself kind of getting into it, but Like we already talked about, kind of the whole spreading myself too thin thing. I don't want to add that into add manga into the mix as well.
Yeah.
And confuse the algorithm even more, but maybe one day.
Yeah. Yeah. Reading has helped with my patience. I'm more aware. Anyone else feel the same? I will say that reading, since starting BookTube, I read a little bit more. I don't know if I want to say attentively, but I read with more purpose. Like I'm more deliberate with how I read, and I'm more engaged and active with how I read. So like, I know I'm a little bit worried because I'm like, I'll read this book and I'm enjoying it, but like I might have to answer a question about it. I might be asked to go on a live stream about it, and I might need to interview the author or do a review that, or answer questions. Like, so I pay a lot more attention to books, and I think I go through them a little slower. Weirdly enough, BookTube has slowed me down a little bit in that way. I'm reading more than I ever have, but more deliberate. So good and bad. Not bad. It's just a thing. So what about you? Do you read? We talked a little bit about how it's changed your habits and stuff, but
I would say kind of the same as you. Like, especially if it's like a book club book, I'm like, I'm gonna need to remember that. Like I'll reread something.
Do you take notes? Do you annotate? Do you write in your books? Do you just go, I'm gonna try and remember?
Yeah, I'm just like, I'll just store it away somewhere in the old noggin and hope it comes up.
You use your Kindle quite a bit, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
You have right? Do you highlight and save notes and stuff that way? Do you find that to be a useful feature or no?
Not really, because I'm not really like a reread kind of person. I'm more of like read it, got it, put it back on the shelf kind of thing. So it just kind of would feel like if I took the time to highlight or make notes, I would know that like, who am I doing this for? I'm not going to come back and look at this unless it's like a book club book or maybe something like that. But
yeah.
What about you? Are you a big note taker or anything?
No. And I find I was pretty good about notes and making charts and kind of, I'm a little bit of a visual, I don't want to say learner because that's not necessarily true, but I do remember things a little bit visually. So I'll remember if I draw something out or if I annotate it. I think a lot of people have the same experience when they write something down, they'll just remember it. I think there's something cognitive there that just fires or whatever.
For sure.
But I don't. And for me, it's like a time thing. I'd rather reread that book next year than like make a bunch of notes and have it take a month for me to finish it. Like, I'm just like, whatever. Like, I don't have the time.
Yeah.
I would never scribble in my book too, because I'm not Satan.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't like, I see people with, tabs and, sticky notes and stuff like all through their book. And I just don't know how that works.
It makes me nervous.
It weirds me out, man. Like, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to stay on top of it.
Yeah. I think probably public school trained me enough to know, like, don't write in your book. It's just sacrilege.
Do you have any weird book habits? Like, do you like lay your book funny on your chest when you're reading? Do you dog ear pages? Do you like rip pages out that upset you? Like, what do you do that's weird?
That's a hard question.
Yeah.
Nothing comes to mind.
Good. You can stay on. That's good.
Yeah.
Good.
No. Do you have any? I take it
no.
You don't. Yeah.
Do I have any? No, I don't think I do. I'm a little bit anal the other way. So I like I'm like extra careful with like my spines to the point where my wife is like, how are you reading that? Because I'll open it like 2 inches and I have to like peer into the margins just because I don't want to open the book. And she's like, dude, you're a loser. Like, I'll buy you another copy of that book. But like, I go the other way. So that's a weird thing for me, is like, I almost don't want to open the book. Like, that's how bad it is. Yeah.
I'm kind of the same way, but not to that level.
Bad. Okay. Little OCD. Yeah. Tea or coffee?
Ooh, usually coffee, but I have been drinking tea lately.
Nice.
Because
very distinguished.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you?
Or British, like my wife is. I'm a coffee guy. It's weird because my wife, her family is British, so she grew up with tea. I'd like to say we're a coffee household. Okay. But that's just because we have coffee. Like, I think she would have tea a lot more if maybe I did too. But yeah, I probably have too much coffee in a day. We have a nice espresso machine because I'm rich. And famous on BookTube. But we are blessed with a really nice espresso machine, and I have way too many coffees a day. Yeah, I can feel it right now. I can feel it right now. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm 2 cups in the morning and I'm good. Any more than
Oh
that,
yeah.
I
I'll
won't
have
sleep.
I try not to have like milk and stuff too much. Like cappuccinos and stuff can be kind of heavy, but I'll have
Yeah.
like an espresso like at like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. Yeah. And by 10 o'clock, I'm in bed with my headphones passed out. So not
My
sure.
wife's like
Maybe it breaks me and my nerves and stuff, and it makes me like die and go
your
to sleep.
body just shuts down to
Yeah, your
go.
body's like, nope, you're done. Like, good, cool. Yeah, notating it slows me down way too much. I'll catch up with the
Yeah.
comments a bit too. I buy way too many. Me
Yeah.
too. Now you have the book of the month subscription. You do a lot of book hauls. You have really kind of fun videos like that, but does that encroach too much into your habits and your spending and your whatever? Like, do you try and deliberately like manage that a little bit, or is it just all fun and you don't have to budget for that?
I mean, in theory, I know in the back of my mind, firstly, that I have like enough books to last like a decade probably, and I don't need to buy more. But
Me too. I said that to my wife the other day. I'm like, I'm not going to buy anything for a long time. Like, I have books to read for years. Like, I'm good. Like,
yeah,
I'm good. And then she laughed and
yeah,
drafted the divorce papers, but whatever. It's fine. It's fine.
yeah. I just buy books when I think I need to.
Do you ever go to a bookstore when when you have no reason to go, you have
All
no
the time.
business, like you just bought 7 books and you're like, oh, there's a bookstore on the way home. You want to pop in?
Yeah,
It's terrible. It's
weekly.
terrible.
My wife and I go to Barnes and Noble. We don't usually buy a lot from Barnes and Noble, but it's like they've just got so many books. It's fun to just like look around.
So
And
as a
maybe get
Canadian,
something.
it's nice that you guys have a Tim Hortons. That's fantastic. Otherwise you're missing out. But as a Canadian, I have always been very jealous about the Barnes and Noble. I'd see people in the Discord and different chats and stuff being like, "Oh, I went to Barnes and Noble, blah blah blah," and I'm like, I hate you because we don't have that. We have what's called Chapters or Indigo, whatever, and it's basically a big chain. It's basically Barnes
Okay.
and Noble, but we don't have some of the interesting copies. We don't necessarily always have the selection. I went to a Barnes and Noble across the border, and this is where the story's leading. I went over the border. We went to Oregon and whatever. We went to Powell's in Portland, which was sweet. But I found out that an hour away from me over the border, there's a Barnes and Noble, which is not good because it's just not good. So I ended up buying a couple of Barnes and Noble special editions that they have, which is the coolest thing ever because I've seen those around and there's nowhere for us to get them. And so now I'm basically American because
Yeah.
I'm just going to go there and set up a tent and just kind of go there once a day for a week and then come home. Or I'm going to show somebody my huge YouTube channel and get a hotel comped for the night. And that way I can stay overnight and get some Barnes and Noble editions. So yeah.
That is the strategy right there. I like that.
Yeah. Okay. So I will say Chapters is very good. It depends where you go. Cause I actually went, like the Barnes and Noble I went to was actually kind of an old kind of rundown Barnes and Noble, but it depends what you look for. I would say, for example, I went to Barnes and Noble and this particular one didn't look as big or as stocked or as new, but like the fantasy section was like multiple aisles and it was incredible. They had everything. Like they had everything.
Really?
Whereas I went to this Chapters that's by my house and I go there all the time. And, they're a little stingy with their fantasy section and they're not always up to date, or they have a lot of, I don't know why they do this. They have a lot of like book 3s in a series, book 2. And I'm like, bro, like give me the first book. Like, I don't care if you stock book 2, 3, 4, whatever, but like you always have to have 1 or 2 book 1s, right?
Yeah.
I don't
You
know.
would think.
I'm not a purchaser. I don't know how those things are managed on the retail side. It must be kind of tricky to keep everything stocked in the right amounts, but like,
Yeah.
it's tough. So
I just
yeah.
assume that like everyone has already beat me there and bought book 1 and book 3 is all they have left. So
Yeah.
I just give them the benefit of the
That's
doubt.
what I would like to think. What's up, Alan? How's it going? Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it really depends too on the Barnes and Noble that you go to. So like
I'm sure it does.
there's 2 by me. One is like bigger, but kind of to their own demise because they have like a little bit of everything. So
Yeah.
the fantasy section is like you pretty much just have like the popular stuff.
Yeah.
And there's another one that smaller, but somehow has much more in terms of fantasy. It's true.
Yeah. I'm going over more and more. And yeah. 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 It depends where you go. I guess that's what keeps us going to bookstores. Because if
Yeah.
they were all the same and they had all the same stuff, whatever. But we always pop in just to see what they got. Dude, there's one big bookstore near me, and like I go there a couple times a week because like I'm like, oh, like what if something changed? Nothing has changed. It's the same, Theo. It's the same books all week. I promise. But I just have to.
You never know.
And so I find reasons to go near it. Let's go grab a coffee from that and then just go to the bookstore.
I do that, but with there's a big like used bookstore in my town, and the good thing about that is it does change. They get like new books in like every day, so it's kind of cool. But then the whole con part is
one thing I found at a Chapters, at an Indigo chapter, whatever, that I haven't found anywhere else really in the wild at a bookstore. And I think in the States, I have friends that this happens to more often. I found a really nice like signed copy, signed by the author of a brand new release, and that was A Day of Fallen Night or something. The second book in the Priory.
I saw that. You mentioned that in the video, yeah.
Super cool, and it was signed by the author, and they had a bunch of books. And I was like, well, obviously, and it was like 30% off because like sometimes they do that.
Nice.
So I'm like, well, why wouldn't I buy it, right? Do you have a lot of signed books? Is that a thing?
I don't.
No? Does that matter to you? Do you like special editions? Do you care if they're signed? Like
lately, I've kind of been really into like illustrated editions. So it actually started with Assassin's Apprentice. I just happened to get the illustrated edition of that, and I was like, yeah, this is the coolest thing. So since then, I've kind of been into it. I also got everything's reversed. Sorry, that book right there.
Yeah.
Illustrated, which I think is really cool. Yeah, you cannot see it. The quality. I'm using my webcam, and it's awful.
What book is that?
But it is by Ursula, the lady with the heart.
Kayla Gwynn. Yeah,
that one.
Cool.
It's I can't remember it. The Wizard one. Wizard of Earthsea. The Earthsea trilogy.
Yeah,
not trilogy, but
I've seen that omnibus. I've seen that series in bookstores and stuff, and I've almost bought it a few times. You had an epic haul not that long ago where you like, it was like, I'm like, Dylan, wrap it up. Like I have shit to do. And I was still watching, and it was like book after book after book. And I got jealous and actually threw my phone at some point. But that one, you sat on those books for a while, like, or do you every couple months just go on a spree? Like,
so that was probably like 3 months worth of books, probably something like that.
And that was part of it, wasn't it?
That it was.
Yeah.
It was.
Sweet.
Yeah. Those are fun, but you know,
they're fun, but it's Do you ever you are similar to me in the sense that I think you're limited with space, like you need to be pretty cognizant of where things go. Do you ever do like unhauls? Like how do you decide to get rid of a book? At what point do you go, I have no more room? Like before your wife yells at you, at what point do you go, okay, I can't physically put another book on the shelf? Like I need to do something about it.
I'm getting close to that. I'm kind of blocking it, but like I've got books on books on books. Yeah. Like I'm completely strapped for space, but I'm in, like I said earlier, like I'm sharing an office with my wife. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment. So like, this is it for space. Luckily, a lot of my books also are on Kindle, which makes it a little bit easier.
I'm reading more and more on ebook.
Yeah.
Like way more. And I say that because I did a video comparing the Kobo to Kindle. And for Canadians, Kobo sometimes is the right choice. There's a sweet spot for each model, and I did a comparison video, and I ended up actually wanting to do some more videos, mostly because there's a couple tricks and a couple cool little things I want to show, but I needed to figure out how they would work on Kindle. So I actually bought a Paperwhite. It's behind me.
Oh, nice.
So I bought a Paperwhite. So I have a Paperwhite, and then I have a Kobo Libra, which is very similar to the Oasis.
Okay.
Almost the same. And I love it. I love the Kindle. There's some things that just, it's nice to have an Amazon connected device. I have to say, I'm a bit of an Amazon slut. Like it just is what it is for now. Morals aside, but like you're able to buy these cheap Kindle deals that just sometimes you don't have on Kobo. And so like you did a video on where to get free books and cheap books and stuff, and BookBub was on there. And so I got an account, found some cheap books. It was awesome. Some of them you can only get on Amazon. Some self-pub stuff you can only find on Amazon because it's a little bit tricky. So for those reasons, the Kindle's really, really good. And I like the form factor. I like the Paperwhite's nice. Is that what you have? A Paperwhite?
I have all the
did you upgrade?
recent Kindles.
Okay.
For primarily, I got them for videos, but
Yeah, sure.
yeah, I use
That's what
Paperwhite
I
a
tell
lot.
my wife too.
Yeah,
I
it's
needed the other
terribly
one too because, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I use the Scribe a lot too lately, and I mean, I only bought it for a video, and since I bought it, I prefer it. But I probably would not have bought it otherwise if I wasn't
Gotcha.
gonna make a video.
They're not cheap. They're not
No,
cheap.
and it's just a Paperwhite but bigger for
And you
like
can,
twice the
it
price.
is, it's like a 10-inch screen. It's like
Yeah, and it
really
comes with
big.
a pen that I don't
Yeah.
use. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, I read a lot on the Kindle, usually at night, just like
Yeah.
if it's if it's dark, my wife's trying to sleep or something.
I'm
It's just easier.
honestly, I've gotten to the point where if I have a copy of it on Kindle, I'll just pick that up. Like I'll leave the hard copy and I'll just read on that because it's so convenient. And unless it's illustrated or unless like I want to see my progress, maybe I'll carry the paperback around and put it on different tables as I walk around the house and stuff. But I'll usually read off the ebook. It's become a favorite format for me.
You make me feel better about myself because I'll do the same thing. I'll buy a book and then read it on the Kindle, and I'm like, what am I doing?
I make fun of myself all the time. I'll walk over to the paperback and I'll just move the bookmark, and I'm like, cool, that's where I am. Back to the Kindle. Like, what? Why? Like, it's just whatever. So you've been on BookTube for a year. So how do you deal? You probably don't get this a lot because your channel's awesome, but it is true. How do you deal with comments? Sometimes maybe negative. Have you run into criticism, negativity?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? How do you approach?
To a degree. Usually not on book videos.
Yeah,
BookTube
is pretty good. So I would like to think that we're pretty lucky.
Yeah,
it happens, I guess.
It's the Kindle videos all the time.
Oh, okay.
Which a lot of the criticism is valid for sure.
Yeah.
But like one of the most recent videos I did, it's my most disliked for sure. It was actually the Scribe video. It's like a follow up to the Scribe, and basically I was saying like I don't take notes, so it's okay for me, like just sharing my thoughts basically.
Yeah. Your use case, like what you like about it and how you use it. Yeah.
Like how it works in my life.
Right.
But people didn't like that.
No, you're like, supposed to do what they want.
Yeah.
FYI.
They're like, why are you using a device called a Scribe if you're not taking notes? This review is trash. Which to a degree is true, but like that kind of wasn't the point of the video,
Right.
But
yeah.
But yeah,
I can see
videos for sure.
It's one of those things where you're not touching on the concept or topic that they want in that video.
Yeah.
So to them, it's like, well, I'm not getting enough of what I wanted from the video. So it's difficult. And I think videos like that, when you're doing reviews of product or whatever, like those are the hardest to make, I would think. I don't have a lot of experience doing them. You do, and you do a great job. I can imagine that being the toughest thing because you're balancing so many. And I got the sense, I'll be honest with you, that Kindle Kobo video, like I played with it a couple times. I changed the title a couple times because really it ended up being kind of a Kindle versus Kobo video. And I thought that was kind of a catchy way to do it because I'm like, well, here's an alternative that a lot of people don't know about. But really the video starts off with talking about every Kindle model, the pros and cons for that compared to a different model that's similar. And the sweet spot for Kindle, I thought, was the Paperwhite, and I talked about it. But I will say, it ended up feeling like, I don't know, I got this idea that I was sort of shitting on Kindle a little bit, and I was like, oh, am I like, because a lot of people have Kindle, and I'm like, did this not go the way that I wanted? Are people going to watch this and go, bro, I have a Kindle, like, what the fuck? Like, Kindle's obviously you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Yeah. I just wanted to enlighten people with another alternative. And for some people, they're not going to get out of that comparison or review video what they wanted. They wanted to go and figure out why their Kindle purchase was a good idea. Yeah. But like all of a sudden I'm like, oh, but there's the Kobo that does more over here for cheaper in this particular case for certain models. And it's like, I don't know. How do I balance that? I'm not sure.
Yeah. It's kind of like hearing you say that reminded me of like Apple versus Android.
Yeah.
Like,
you can't be
Android better. Objectively, maybe, but like I have an iPhone, so obviously the iPhone.
And I even said, one of the things I said was I ended the video with saying, here's some reasons why somebody would choose the Kobo and why somebody would choose the Kindle. And a reason to choose the Kindle is actually premium quality. Like I think in a lot of cases, the quality is a little bit better. And if you look at the Oasis versus like the Libra, they look pretty much identical-ish. The Oasis has adapted and changed a bit. The Oasis is built like a lot better. So like it all depends, and it's all, so for you, how you use the Scribe, you know, I might use it for something different. I know a lot of people, like my wife has what's called a Remarkable,
Oh yeah.
which is basically a scribe, but like it's not really meant for ebooks. Like it's not, it's basically for textbooks and PDFs and drawing and whatever. So it
Yeah.
wasn't marketed as an e-reader. It was marketed first and foremost as a note taking device.
Right.
So for her, she doesn't read books on it. So it's similar. It's like, well, why would you buy that just to write on shit? It's like, well, you can read stuff too, but on yours, you can also write on stuff. So it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
For sure.
Booktube is a pretty good place. I've been pretty lucky. I think the community's pretty good.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, have you had any like belligerent commenters before?
No, I will answer that we do have Libby in Canada. Libby's a great app. I use Libby all the time. No, I've been pretty lucky, actually, I think. Yeah, it's been,
I'm gonna have to
been
go
pretty
leave a
good.
comment now then.
Yeah, I mean, every now and then I'm like, I wonder if I'm just not seeing them. Are they hidden from me? Like, do I need to approve 100 comments tomorrow? Like, but it's pretty good. I think I'm pretty cautious with what I say and how I say it and stuff. So I'm not really, although at the expense of maybe not as many views, like I don't take a confrontational approach and I don't shit on things and I don't do the shock factor thing. Like I'm tempted sometimes. I'll read a book I just really didn't like and I'll be like, I could do a bit of a rant with you. I could.
Yeah.
But I won't. So how do you balance that on your channel? Like, do you only try and be positive? Do you try and not talk about things that you don't like? How do you approach that? Like,
no, I mean, pretty much I'll just try to say what I think, you know?
yeah, it is what it is kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I don't like something, I'll try to be tactful, you know? Like I'm not going to say like if it's a book that this was the absolute worst book I've ever read and it was terrible because, you know, I know a lot of people probably like that book and I don't want to unnecessarily offend someone. But yeah, I do always try to say like book was not good or the Kindle Scribe is not that great, that kind of thing. But kind of going back to something else you said about like the type of videos that definitely get traction, like back a little while ago was like Brandon Sanderson. If you wanted 1,000 views, just put Brandon Sanderson in your title and talk
for
about
a long
it,
time. That was it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or like pick a very popular book and then make it obvious either in your title and or thumbnail that you hated it.
Yep.
You're going to get some views, you know?
Yep. Yep.
And so it's definitely tempting, especially if you kind of relate to, like, if there's a grain of truth in that, like if you really maybe didn't love that super popular book. But
yeah,
I don't know if that's the kind of people I want to attract, you know?
Same thing with me is I don't know if I want my community to be one that appreciates kind of the crazy, like shock factor opinions. And like, I don't want it to be based completely on unpopular opinions or whatever. So I don't know if and I'm always a little bit delicate with that. Like if it's a review request or a self-published book or something like that, I don't know how I would approach that 100%. Like, you know, do I be honest or do I just kind of avoid it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Sure. It's tricky, but
it definitely depends too. You know, like, do I feel bad insulting Jeff Bezos saying I don't like the Kindle? Not at all. Would I feel bad saying, you know, I hated this self-pub book? Yeah. Probably wouldn't put that up.
Yep. Yeah, it's tricky. Booktube is tricky, but you're doing really well, and I'm glad you took the time out of your day to come and hang out and chat. And I think we've been going for about an hour and a half. I can hear my wife getting some more food ready, so maybe we'll call it. And I think maybe we should try and do it again. Maybe we'll do a collab and do maybe we'll answer this real quick. Would you do a channel on the side? Like, would you ever do something kind of separate? You mentioned keeping your channel kind of niche.
Yeah, I have thought about it, certainly. But I just feel like I'm already like staying up too late, too many nights a week with this channel. Yep. So I don't know, maybe one day in the future, but like I know like Mike's book reviews started a media channel. I think, not long ago.
For all the other stuff that he wants to talk about.
Yeah. And it seems to work for him, but I don't know if I'm adept enough.
Not opposed to it, but I think it would take a lot of time. So maybe not, but stay tuned. And I think we should do this again. Like I said, we'll do some reading sprints or something. And always happy to chat. I appreciate you coming again. Please go check out Dylan's channel. It's amazing. I've gotten a lot of value from it. There's some really good videos. I promise you'll learn something and you'll have a good time. So go check him out and subscribe. I don't know if his channel is linked down below because it's live and I'm not sure I prepped it, but it's Dylan JOHNS, and go check him out. And eventually, if you come back, I'll have his channel linked in here too. But I just want to thank you. Dylan, you want to say anything before we go?
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was a ton of fun.
Thanks, dude.
We'll definitely have to do it again sometime soon.
Yeah. Thanks for everyone hanging out in the comments. I appreciate it. Thanks for spending your night with us, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.